First of all, I would just like to know how do you define an airport becoming a global hub, especially since you have already reached 100 million capacity now. Uh, how would you say, and how would you like to classify? At what stage will Delhi become an airport hub? What will be your criteria for that?
There is no set criteria for any airport to be called a global hub. It is more about how well you are connected to across the world and what is the percentage traffic that is actually a transfer traffic. So typically for a global hub, you would assume close to about at least 30% of the traffic is a connecting traffic with a mix of domestic to international as well as international to international traffic. So like Delhi Airport, possibly 5 years back, we still had about 20% connecting traffic, but it was more to do with domestic to domestic connecting traffic. What we have been able to do across the last 5 years is that improve our domestic to international as well as international to international connecting traffic. So we are currently at about 28 to 29%. So I can say we are on the verge of getting classified as a global hub or global gateway.
What is the current status of D2I and I2I traffic at Delhi Airport? I2I, the current share of I2I traffic in this total?
Current share of I2I traffic will be close to about 3 to 4%.
3 to 4%.
Yeah, because India is in a very unique situation. Because if you start comparing any Indian airport with the nearby international airports, which are primarily I2I driven, whether you look at Singapore or you look at Dubai, they don't have domestic traffic. India is akin to many of the US airports where domestic feeds actually a lot of international traffic. So we have seen, while we have seen about in last 5 years, about 200% increase in I2I traffic, D2I traffic also has gone up by about 30%.
Christoph?
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think there's any fixed definition of what is a global hub. I think it's probably worth reflecting on what is a hub in the first place and what are the benefits that hubbing brings. A hub is the bit at the center of the wheel, and along with the hub come spokes. And in aviation, a hub and spoke systems means I channel much of the traffic from different spokes throughout the system through a hub onto a different spoke. And the benefits of this are many for many different stakeholders. So the benefits for the passengers, if perhaps I'm living in a smaller city, is I have more connections globally. I have connections to India, I have connections across the globe through the hub that I otherwise wouldn't have. The benefit for passengers and for the population in proximity to the hub also means I probably have more connections, more direct connections from this hub than I would have had if I weren't able to build on the traffic arriving from different spokes. So there's benefits for passengers in that there are more connections. There are benefits for airlines in that they're able to offer more destinations and greater connectivity with fewer resources, with fewer aircraft, and with fewer individual flights. And then, of course, there are benefits for the airports and the cities that house them in having the opportunity to serve more destinations. And I think we see, I think we'll speak about it in some sense, every airport is a hub, especially if we look at not just air travel, but also look at ground travel and becoming a hub in this nexus from ground transportation to air transportation. And I think we've certainly seen the larger airports in India begin to provide this hub connectivity at a global scale, and I think that's been a very exciting development.
Since you are a greenfield airport, Noida is a greenfield airport, what advantage do you have, when it comes to construction, when it comes to interterminal connectivity, with your, and you also have a lot of global experience also, Christoph, you especially. Can you just give me an idea about these topics?
So I'd say the greenfield advantage is also the greenfield disadvantage or the greenfield challenge. So we have this great opportunity of being able to design and construct infrastructure, to deploy technical systems and processes from scratch on the greenfield. That means we have the opportunity to deploy the newest technology. We're not constrained by legacy infrastructure or by legacy systems. And we have an opportunity to design a terminal, to design an airport system to the traffic that we hope to cater to. In our case, this means that I think we've been deliberate about designing a terminal that enables short transfers, that facilitates short connection times. We've been able to deploy the newest technology when it comes to, let's say, passenger processing, Digiyatra, self-service bag drops. We've been able to start working with a world-class group of different partners. The disadvantage is that we don't have the experience and the historicity that my colleague has when it comes to developing and furthering the processes and the infrastructure.
Vidya, you have a lot of experience now. You have been, since the privatization of the Delhi airport, it has grown significantly. Even in the last 5 to 7 years, it has grown. When its capacity, it has grown significantly, and the expansion continues. Can you delve on this topic? Again, as a brownfield airport, what are the challenges and what are the advantages that you have? One advantage is that you have an existing traffic, but if you can, inform.
Sure. So typically when you design an airport, it's based on a 10-year projection of the traffic. Now the advantage of any greenfield airport being created now is that the projection is taken now, so that is more recent kind of a traffic projection. Because if I look at the traffic projection that we got in 2016 when we did the last master plan, the overall scenario was very different. At that time, Air India was a government organization. There were lack of funding that the airlines was getting. Indigo didn't have too many aspirations for international travel. Now those aspirations have got changed, so now we are in the process of doing a master planning where we have taken those inputs. But obviously in any infrastructure, if you have built an infrastructure, to change that infrastructure, especially in a running airport, is that much more difficult than actually doing it from scratch. However, the good thing that I think in the initial planning in 2010 that was done in Delhi airport was some of these were anticipated. So for example, Terminal 3 was designed in a manner that more international operations can be held in Terminal 3 by just doing a little bit of tweaking. Similarly, we saw that our international to international transfer is growing multifold. Like 5 years, it has become 3 times. We were able to actually expand that area threefold because that was something that was part of the initial planning. So there is distinct advantage in a greenfield of doing everything from scratch and having more recent traffic projections. The benefit of a brownfield airport like Delhi is that we are in the center of the city. So in terms of actually the catchment area is that much larger. In terms of the overall traffic as well as relationship with different airlines is that much long standing. So it works out very well with them in terms of doing their future planning because they can then work on the kind of connectivity that they need. Because typically for a hub airport also, you still need about 60 to 70% of the traffic, which is origin and destination traffic. Maybe 30 to 35% is what you can depend on the transfer traffic. So that is something which is a distinct advantage of an existing airport.
One question related to that is that, as you know very well, that when it comes to hub, the movement of people between terminals is a very key point, very important point, and we have seen all across, the global hubs when we are talking, the movement is really smooth. I was talking to an airline executive, and this is one thing that keeps coming up, smooth movement of people between the terminals of the same airport. You also have a plan of automatic people mover. If you can, delve about that, how Delhi Airport wants to move forward, when it comes to smooth movement of passengers between terminals?
Sure. So there are a lot of things that we have done, and there are some things which are in the plan. So what we have been able to do is baggage transfer on the air side. So in spite of the passenger traveling on the city side, that you have to come out of Terminal 1 and to go to Terminal 3, your baggage need not come out. Your baggage can get transferred on the air side towards Terminal 3. So that makes life easier. In terms of even the ground transportation, we have now increased our frequency. So every 10 minutes, you typically get a transfer bus. Coming forward, there are two plans which is further going to smoothen it. One is metro connectivity. So there is this golden line which is getting done, which is going to get extended to Terminal 1 from AeroCity. So a passenger basically transferring to Terminal 3 can take the metro line and come to AeroCity and transfer into the airport line. And third is the automatic people mover. So we are committed to have automatic people mover connecting all the 3 terminals by 2027, because that is the time it will take for construction. We are in the bidding stage, so we expect the bidding to be completed anytime, maybe in the next 1 month time. And then there is construction time. So by 2027, we should have that also in place.
Can you just give some information about automatic people mover? How will it help common people that, when it comes to going between terminals?
Key benefit of automatic people mover is that you have got a defined time in which the transfer will take place. Because any road transport faces traffic, which is not the case in automatic people mover. So while this automatic people mover, we are doing it on the city side, because that is something which will give less and less burden on the passengers, because part of that will be also paid by the paying passengers who will transit from one place to another place, and passengers will travel free of cost. So you will have a defined time of say 15 minutes to transfer from Terminal 1 to Terminal 3. And in peak time, you can even remove all the stoppages and have a direct this thing. So that will take about 7 to 8 minutes. So that is a distinct advantage as compared to what it is today.
Okay. Christoph, what are your plans when it comes to connectivity?
I think that the easy answer to that is we're building and developing just one terminal at the moment. So we're not planning with an automated people mover at the moment. I think the master plan that we've developed sees Noida Airport growing to a capacity of around 70 million passengers, probably in the next 20 to 25 years. This will include two terminals, and I think as we approach those planning phases in more details, we'll certainly take a closer look.
Also about the connectivity to the city in your case, because Delhi Airport still has got lot ways to connect and bring people to the airport. What are the plans? I know the Uttar Pradesh government as well as Delhi government has announced a few plans, but what stage have they reached when it comes to construction? And when your airport starts in a few months down the line, what should people be expecting?
I think that's an excellent question, a very important question, and I mentioned earlier that at least in some sense, every airport is a hub, and every airport is certainly a hub in the sense that we see from a ground transportation perspective, people reaching the airport from many directions, transferring, and then catching a flight. Our efforts in this context are two. One effort is to make sure that this transfer from your vehicle, from your bus in the future, maybe from your metro or from your train, to the flight is as quick and as easy as possible, to make sure that those distances, those processes are quick, are seamless, are digitally enabled and supported. The second area that we're working on is to ensure that there's a quick and easy option to reach the airport for each and every budget. We're located just adjacent to the Yamuna Expressway, about 600 meters away from the Delhi-Agra Expressway, and certainly this main connectivity in the initial stages of the project the initial stages of operations will be through the road. We've tied up with state bus operators all across North India. We've tied up with exclusive VIP taxi services. We've tied up with app-based taxi services such as Uber, such as Rapido, to ensure that that connectivity is there at every price point. In parallel, together with the state and with the central governments, we're working through a plan to provide RRTS connectivity from Delhi, from Noida, Greater Noida, to the airport.
Since we were earlier also talking about the I-to-I connectivity, can you talk about the role of the immigration counters and how the process are changing? What are the discussions happening since we are moving towards making Delhi a global airport hub? Are the number of counters going to increase? Are the people's training is going to change? What have you got the sense in your discussion with the Bureau of Immigration?
Firstly, let me accept one thing. I think our immigration processes are one of the best in the world in terms of waiting time. I'm talking about India at most of the places, because you go to any of the international destinations. I have stood in the queue in Washington airport for 1.5 hours to actually clear the immigration. In our case, if anybody takes more than 15 minutes, I get it on the tweet, and then we have to make sure that that guy actually quickly passes through. We have been increasing the number of immigration counters on a regular basis. And I think the biggest initiative that Government of India has taken is the TTP, Trusted Traveller Program. We have seen a fantastic uptake on that. We have seen increasing acceptance of that, and in fact, Bureau of Immigration is also going to increase the number of counters, which basically is TTP. So besides that, we work very closely with immigration officials in terms of easing the flow. So for example, any foreigner coming to India for the first time has to give his or her biometric. Now that used to take a lot of time of the immigration agent. So we put up some biometric kiosks in the pier itself so that the passenger can give his or her biometric in advance, so that the time that he or she takes with the immigration official is minimized. So I have seen a fantastic movement ahead in terms of manning, in terms of training, in terms of technology adoption. So I think we will be able to maintain the current efficiency in the years to come.
Christoph, the same question to you. In your discussions with Bureau of Immigration, I think in the beginning you will have primarily domestic traffic, but you are going to start international flights also. So in your discussions with Bureau of Immigration, what is the thing that you not demand, but that you're looking for, when it comes to setting up counters, when it comes to flow of people?
I mean, indeed, we see the primary traffic in the initial phases of operations being domestic, being perhaps domestic to domestic or domestic to international. We will be an international airport. There will be immigration counters there. I think the conversations, as Mr. Vidya said, with the Bureau of Immigration have been very constructive. So we're working together with them to deploy the infrastructure that they require to do their job, physical infrastructure as well as the electronic counters for the Trusted Traveller program. And I have the utmost respect for the Bureau of Immigration. They have a delicate balance that they need to achieve between maintaining the security and the border security of the nation, and at the same time doing so in a way that's as convenient and as seamless for the passengers as possible.
Is an airline dedicated terminal possible at Delhi Airport?
In the current structure, no, because we went more for having the process efficiency. So all the international travel we are going to limit into Terminal 3. So that means that domestic airlines have to be at multiple terminals. So that is where connectivity plays a very important role. So there was a balance between whether we want a single terminal airline or we want the process efficiency by having international where the processing time is the maximum. So we went for the latter.
Can you also talk about the role of ATC? Is it because as the capacity is increasing, as the aircraft movement is increasing, how has the role of ATC changed, and what kind of change should we see in the next 5 to 10 years as you are also going to expand?
ATC plays a very vital role, and especially considering that now there is another airport that is coming where the area control is going to be one common area control. So in terms of redesigning the whole airspace is something that ATC has been able to do. In terms of bringing in efficiency, because not many of you know that Delhi airport airspace, almost 70% is a restricted airspace. So in spite of having that restriction, how do you actually improve the efficiency of the airspace? It is all up to ATC. So in terms of whether it is high intensity runway operation training, which is something that our ATC team actually went through about 5 to 6 years back, and they have implemented it. Now currently, say, we are operating close to about 1,500 movements a day. From there, going up to 2,000 plus movements is something that we are working with ATC, which will be possible only by bringing in some new procedures, whether it is independent parallel approach, whether for which there are newer decision support systems which are required. People need to be trained. So that is something that we continuously keep on working with AI to ensure that our ATC of ATCOs are basically able to go through all that training, able to use that DSS to actually improve the overall airside capacity.
Christoph, if you can talk about ATC as well as the runway, if you, on both these aspects, what are you looking for?
I think first and foremost, safety. I think that's the primary role of the air traffic control, and the primary consideration when designing the infrastructure and now commissioning and testing the infrastructure is to make sure that we can handle flights and we can handle passengers safely. I think now the challenge for us and working together with the Airports Authority, working together with ATC in the years ahead, is how can we increase the capacity of the airport, how can we increase the capacity of the aeronautical system in and around the NCR, how can we increase that capacity safely, and how can we do so without impacting the resilience and the punctuality of the system. And I think that's the challenge, a number of measures that you've called out that you're working on. I think that's the road ahead for us.
When can we see Noida Airport starting?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. No, we're on the home stretch. I think we're excited by the progress we've made again in the past couple of months. End of December last year was a big highlight for us as we were able to receive the inaugural flight, the validation flight. Indigo put an A320 down on our runway. Throughout the past couple of months, we've been moving forward on the construction works on the passenger terminal. Primarily, we're working through, as we speak, the licensing, the aerodrome licensing works with the Bureau for Civil Aviation Security, with the DGCA. And in parallel, there's a lot of work ongoing, testing and commissioning the various passenger processing systems in the terminal. So trials, turnaround trials, airside trials of the check-in system, trials, tests of the baggage handling system. So all of these leading up to an inauguration and the start of operations soon.
Soon means October, November?
You'll be the first to know.
Yeah.
You'll be the first to know.
Vijay, I just wanted to know that right now you mentioned that eye-to-air traffic is around 3 to 4%. 5 to 10 years down the line, where would you like this number to be? Also, another question added to this is the ideal I-to-I transit time that you would like to be for a person who is getting out from the boarding gate, from his aircraft door and reaching the other flight within you, if it is in Terminal 3 only.
Right. So, if you ask me that what is the ideal number of I-to-I, our initial focus has been more on D-to-I. I-to-I is something which there are certain sectors we already see a very interesting movement. So, for example, Southeast Asia to Europe. Similarly, we have seen South Asia to Europe and USA in any case was earlier also, and that has been increasing. And at this point, I would also like to mention that not many would know that Delhi airport is better connected to Europe and North America as compared to any other airport other than the Middle East airports in this region, including Singapore airport. So with more options coming in, we have seen flows coming even from Australia to Delhi to Europe. So ideal number I would like to see possibly in next 5 to 7 years with better connectivity, which basically depends on all the wide bodies that different airlines have ordered, to go to close to about 10% of I-to-I traffic. And what was the second question? The ideal connecting time. See, ideal, according to me, there is nothing, no ideal connecting time, while we can say that, okay, 45 minutes is MCT. However, as a passenger, I hate to take a connection which is within 1 hour. A comfortable connecting time for most of the passengers is between 2 hours to 3 hours, not less than 2 hours, because they are always worried that if the incoming flight gets delayed, they might miss the connection. And beyond 3 hours, then there is too much of wait at the airport. So I consider that 2 to 3 hours as a sweet spot. So we are building our typical hub structure in a manner that you have not more than 2.5 hours of waiting time between two flights.
Christoph, my last question is about the competition that India sees when it comes to hubs from the nearby hubs, whether it is Dubai, Singapore. You have worked in other airports also across the world. What advantages do they have, and where can an Indian airport like yours even go ahead 1 or 2 steps ahead?
No, I think if we want to succeed in India with hubs, if we want to win with hubs in India, we do so not individually as an airport or as an airline or as the government, but we do so as an industry, and we do so by working together. And ultimately, in order to win, we need to be, our transfer product needs to be better in some important and some meaningful way. And better will not mean the same thing for each and every passenger. Better may mean quicker, may mean easier, might mean cheaper, or might mean more luxurious for the premium traveling segment. But I think if we want to succeed as a hub, we do so by finding a way to work together to define these transfer products, to make them superior to some of the alternatives, to build on the natural strengths that we have, as you've pointed out, which is a very, very large domestic market as well that is willing to travel and wants to travel abroad. I think that's the way forward.
With my same question to you, also one item, supplementary question to that is there any policy change that is needed? You have been working with the government for quite a long time. So first of all, the competition with the nearby hubs, and also is there any policy change needed?
In terms of competition, I think India has got an inherent strength in terms of the domestic feed, as rightly pointed out by Christoph. So if I just give you a data in 2019, possibly only 17 to 18% of people traveling to Europe or North America were taking direct flights from India. As compared to that, now percentages have improved quite dramatically. In fact, for Europe, we have got close to, at Delhi airport, close to about 40 to 45% of the passengers going directly. So in terms of getting better connectivity, and our initial aim is to become an airport of choice for the Indian traveler. because that is something that we have seen leakage happening to the other nearby hubs who basically feed on Indian travelers more than any other country around. Then what was the second question?
Any policy change needed from the
Yes.
government?
So we are working with government on policy changes. So that is where air service agreement is one such policy change which government has been looking at critically, because all the air service agreements should be actually in a manner that supports the Indian carriers, and Indian airports are there to support through infrastructure. If I look at 3-4 years back, we possibly didn't have a strong hub aspirations of Indian airlines. Now that we have two strong airlines, so it is that much more important. Similarly, security processes, government is already working on making it much more smoother for the transfer passengers. Thirdly, for the waiting passengers, airports also need to create the infrastructure which makes their stay at the airport that much more comfortable. So we are also looking at global brands as well as different kind of facilities which makes their stay over at Delhi airport that much more convenient. So these are some of the things that we need to do as a government, as an airlines, as well as an airport to actually make it work.
We are running out of time. I would have loved this discussion to go for another 15-20 minutes, but